Is industrial still the golden sector of the commercial market? That's the question I keep getting asked at the moment. This property sector has seen in the last 4 or 5 years ongoing capital and rental growth, with the exception of the Liz Truss hiccup from which it recovered. However, the dynamics in this sector have changed in the last 12 months or so, and this is noticeable to anybody in the property market. COVID brought with it the idea of the UK becoming self-reliant again and the desire of not relying on China and other countries and having in particular its own engineering base again. This, together with the combined effect at the time of the rapid growth in the e-commerce sector and the massive requirements for operators like Amazon for larger and smaller distribution hubs, saw massive increases in demand in this sector. The equation of demand and supply became significantly out of kilter, and this drove up rents and land prices. Industrial became the lifeblood of any property agent. The market of continued growth in rents and capital values continued unabated, driven strongly by e-commerce until the effects of Truss economics in September 2022. And this saw overnight a general fallback in values in this property sector of circa 10%. However, the underlying strength in this sector meant that any losses in value were soon recovered. It is only in the last 12 months or so that general levelling off in growth in the values in this sector has occurred. So what are the reasons for this? Well, as always, there's no specific one reason. It's never that simple. But here are a few factors that we need to consider. Firstly, e-commerce has not been the experience that everyone thought it would be. Clearly, it still has a place, but it's lost a bit of its oomph. Secondly, people's memories are short. And after the promise of a non-return to being beholden to countries like China for the supplies of products, there's been a return to them as a supplier dictated by pure cost basis, and businesses needing to be efficient has made them alter their position. Thirdly, the rating system caught up with this sector, bringing a double whammy of increased rents and increased rates due to increases in rateable values that happened in the last year or so. Fourthly, when land values being paid for land in this property sector are above residential values, there are clear signs that the oven has got too hot. Fifthly, general economic uncertainty. We all know what that means. So what does the future hold? And is this sector a good place to put your money? The answer to that is in general, we have returned to normality, and there's nothing wrong with normality. The last thing owners of industrial property should do is head for the exit doors. All that will happen, in my opinion, in the next few years, is this sector will go steady ahead, and there's nothing wrong with that. The one part of the sector that will have to see rental and capital growth is new build. And the likelihood is that the divide between levels achieved for new build rents and capital values to the older sector will increase, or developers will not just decide not to build. There will be a new build premium for modern, high EPC rating, efficient commercial units due to the cost of construction that developers are having to pay, not only in construction, but also the taxation and the planning system. And that was without the new joy of biodiversity gain, which is a subject for another day. The potential two-tier market in this property sector will continue to widen, and this will create challenges associated with debt finance purposes as valuers struggle to find comparable evidence to rely on valuations for new build developments. The new build developers, in my mind, also need to remember that occupiers in this property sector love external space, with yards, servicing and car parking. And in general, new builds have become far too tight in offering such characteristics, with too small yard areas and car parking provision in general. Like everything, expert commercial property advice is critical. The future remains bright for industrial. It's just maybe slightly less golden.